I'm glad everybody's here. I'm so glad to see everybody here. You came so far from Pennsylvania, left town Bensalem. It's a pleasure having you here. Housekeeping rules: turn your cell phones off, buzz them, whatever, vibrate, so it doesn't interrupt the meeting. Restrooms are through this door in the back. And I'd like to introduce the only national presidential director in IDLife, Jennifer Moran, my friend. Woo!
She did a great job, huh?
Oh yeah.
And we may want to ask them, I guess, if they can cut the music off in here, maybe.
I think
They
did.
Look at that. We got to do more meetings here. Okay, I just got a last minute idea. Not that half the people in this room have even heard of these yet, but since we're sitting here having to smell all this garlic and spaghetti and stuff, I'm going to pass these around. These are our appetite control chews. They taste like Tootsie Rolls, so hopefully those will help. So y'all pass those out. This is mine. I didn't steal Susan's product, but if y'all want to try a chew, you can. Okay? They're all natural, stevia sweetened. They're good for you. Just take one, because if you take two, you'll be up all night. Just saying. All right. Well, I am honored to be here tonight. I am Jennifer Moran. I'm from Houston, Texas. And I just, first of all, big round of applause to Susan for setting this up. Thank you very much. She worked really, really hard. It's a beautiful restaurant and a great setup, and she was all ready to go when we walked in. The only reason I came up and didn't let Susan do this is because our first speaker is a really, really good friend of mine. She and I actually have known each other since high school. And to be real honest, back later in the year, last year, when I first started taking a look at IDLife, you know, I kind of checked the box on everything, but the very last box that I needed to check, and if you run out, by the way, we have more. The very last box that I needed to check was on the nutrition side of things. I had a background in cardiovascular specialty sales as a drug rep, and even though I consider myself somewhat physically fit, because like I run half marathons and stuff, I'm not that into nutrition because I do have 3 kids, so half the time I'm finishing their chicken nuggets and stuff like that. So for nutrition, I called upon my friend Michelle. And I asked Michelle and her husband Keith, who I knew from high school, to come up and meet with Logan and sort of put his feet to the fire in terms of all the nutritional side of the products you're about to look at tonight. And that's just because Michelle and her husband Keith, they actually own 3 efficient exercise kind of boutique personal training studio gyms in the Austin, Texas area. They own one in San Antonio. But they actually have created literally a worldwide following on Twitter and on Facebook. And it's because they host one of the world's largest paleo conventions in Austin, Texas every year. In fact, the next one's coming up very soon, where thousands of people come and attend this convention to learn about paleo. She and her husband teach applied paleo, which is a nutritional lifestyle. And her husband Keith has actually even spoken at Harvard on it, so they know a lot about nutrition. And so I couldn't think of anybody better to really explain the first portion of the presentation, which is on products, the background of the products, how they came to be, as well as the actual ingredients of it, than my friend Michelle. I will say this, and if, I don't know where the clicker is. What did I do with it? She's got it. I'm going to cover this part real quick, just because last time we did this, she said, make sure you do that part. Because this is, you know, she kind of came in after, you know, what I consider my IDLife story, which is basically, for those of you who don't know me in the room, I know I do know a lot of you, but like I said, I was a cardiovascular specialty rep for 15 years down in the Texas Medical Center in Houston. Back in '05 is when I first got involved in direct sales, and it was through a girl that I worked with at my cardiovascular biotech company. She was our Dallas rep. And quite frankly, she got me involved in that opportunity simply because she knew that I was passionate about my church. My church was building a church at the time. I had been approached with 1 million different business opportunities over the course of my pharmaceutical career. And to be real honest with you, most of them were health and wellness. And I really wasn't that jazzed about health and wellness, to be real honest with you, in terms of direct sales. I also had a lot of misconceptions about network marketing and direct sales, kind of a low opinion of it. But my friend sort of got me with this one because it was actually a service-based company in something that I felt like was sort of ground floor in terms of the industry. And I thought it might be a smart idea to jump in and do it as a fundraiser for my church. I got involved with that company very part-time, worked it very part-time. And in about 1.5 years it took off, and I walked away from my pharmaceutical job And next thing you know, I was a professional network marketer for the next 6 years. I rose to the top of that company. I was one of the top 50 income earners. My rank was actually number 40 last year. I was awarded a free Mercedes-Benz. Very comfortable in that company. You know, it was actually, I guess, my first love, so to speak, because it was my first direct sales business, and that's where I learned everything. And through that company is where I met the founder and CEO of IDLife, Logan Stout, because he was part of my upline support team there. I very much looked up to Logan. He had mentored me through those 8 years in terms of leadership, entrepreneurship, success. And to be real honest, everything that Logan Stout had ever touched had turned to gold. To give you guys a little bit of background about Logan, and some of you may even know Logan, but may not know his background, but he was a former youth minister and pro baseball player. And when he realized he couldn't play baseball anymore due to some injuries, he went into full-time youth ministry. But he had a dream of building a select baseball organization, which is a little hard to do on a youth minister's salary. So that's when he got involved in direct sales through a product-based company that was a health and wellness company. And he shot through the ranks of that company to become one of their top income earners and landed even on the cover of their magazine at the age of 25. He earned a couple $1 million there, and with that money, he actually started what is now known as the Dallas Patriots. It's one of the world's largest select baseball organizations. It's been around for 14 years. They've won the last 15 or so World Series, as a matter of fact. So through actually one of the kids that was on the Dallas Patriots team's father is how he got involved in the service-based company where I met him. And he very quickly, and in fact he joined that company only 2 months before I did, which was 4 months after the company launched is when Logan joined it, and I joined 6 months after that company had launched. And he went all the way to the #2 spot, became the #2 income earner, and multi-millionaire. And so like I said, everything he had touched had turned to gold. So, you know, fast forward, last year in April, I'm sitting on the beach in Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic with Logan, and that's really when I first kind of heard rumors, just through the grapevine, you know how people talk when they get together, that Logan was possibly leaving to go be CEO and or start his own network marketing company. But I also heard through the rumor mill that it was going to be a health and wellness company, and I just kind of went, I'm out. Because that really didn't appeal to me, to be real honest with you, okay? So I sat there over the course of however many months, and of course the rumors turned into reality, and we knew Logan was leaving. And one day I'm just sitting there and I'm watching Fox Business News, and I look up and I see Logan Stout on Fox Business News. And he's being interviewed in a segment titled, "Can You Be a Multimillionaire by the Age of 25?" And that's when I had my kind of V8 moment, because I'm sitting there staring at this television, and I'm looking at this guy, who I know personally. He and his wife, Haley, we've been friends with them now for 8 years. And it's kind of like I'm sitting there going, there's Mark Zuckerberg, and you just heard he's about to go start Facebook, and you're not even going to pick up the phone and call him? And I knew he wasn't going to call me just because of the rules and regulations of direct sales. So I finally broke down. Curiosity got the best of me, and I said, all right, I'm going to call and see what he's doing. And that's when I started to hear what was going to lead into and become the story of IDLife. Basically, at that time, my first phone call to him, he told me that he was actually a member of Stonebriar Country Club up in Frisco, Texas, and it was really just a chance meeting. He happened to go in there one day for lunch, and at the table right next to him was a gentleman named Keith Kraft, who in Texas is somewhat of a celebrity because he's a pastor of a huge mega church up in Frisco called Elevate Life Church. But he's better known by a lot of people who watch TV evangelists because he's Joel Osteen's best friend. So he and Joel Osteen preach at each other's churches a lot. So Keith's sitting at the table right next to him with 2 other gentlemen, and they got to talking with Logan, and they knew of Logan's success in direct sales. They knew of Logan's success in business because he is very well known now in the Dallas area as a very savvy business person because he's actually also an investor in a lot of other businesses and part owner in some of those. And to be real honest, they just started talking to him, and next thing you know, they're sharing with him the fact that they had come across what they believed to be a really revolutionary product/service. They had stumbled across a service that combined with a product was going to create customized nutrition for people, which Logan really thought was a novel idea. He definitely knew it was something that had never been done before. But quite frankly, these guys shared with him, they said, look, here's the deal. We invested in the product, we invested in the technology, but we don't really have a game plan. And we definitely don't have the funding. And so what we need is a game plan, and we might potentially need some funding. And so would you come over and just kind of be a business consultant for us? So they arranged a meeting. At that meeting, they just hit it off. Okay, they really got along. The chemistry was good. And so they looked at Logan at one point during that meeting because he was giving them so much good insight and said, would you come be our CEO? And Logan's exact words were to them were, I'm not going to be CEO of any company that I do not own. And that's because he was coming out of a company where there was a founder of our company, but then there was a CEO that worked for him. And we had gone through a couple of CEOs. And so he knew if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to own it. So these guys told him, well, we know it works. We've had over 1,000 customers on product for 12 months. And of those customers that were on this customized nutrition, we had a 93% retention rate, which is like unheard of in health and wellness. And that's when Logan became very, very interested. So he actually said, they said they were open to him buying the company. They turned over all their information to him. He ran his due diligence, ran the numbers through his financial people and through his attorneys. And basically after 9 or 10 months, which was right around the time I started talking to him, he had decided he was going to buy the company. But he had to raise strategic funding. He told me, I had enough money to buy the company, but now I got to go out and get the actual strategic funding. And my goal is, he told me, is to raise $5 million in 5 weeks. Well, he ended up calling me back. He had raised $10 million in 72 hours and cut off investing. Very, very well funded. And then where my ears perked up and I thought, okay, now I'm going to come to Dallas and meet with you, is when he told me that he now owns 68% of the company and that 5% of the company was owned by the Perot family. He said one of the investors was Patrick and Suzanne McGee. Suzanne is one of Ross Perot's 4 daughters. And her husband Patrick is actually an independently wealthy businessman up in Dallas because he owns Brazos Private Equity, which is one of the largest private equity firms actually in the nation, I've now found out. And through the Perot Group, which is a group of investors they're part of, led to other really rock star investors. And so he had a lot of good funding. Then he put together an executive team. Okay? And that executive team consists of Joe O'Connor, who's our CFO. He was the former CFO for SkinCeuticals, and SkinCeuticals got bought out by L'Oreal, so actually Joe O'Connor was in semi-retirement. And he came out of retirement to be our CFO. Our COO is Mark Bennett, who actually was named the Texas Super Lawyer. He actually owns, he was a private equity partner, I should say, or an equity partner in Strasburger and Price. It's one of the largest law firms up in Frisco. And he's actually known throughout the nation as a top litigating attorney. And he walked away from his law firm to become our Chief Operations Officer. Our training department is headed up by a gentleman named Scott Schilling. Okay, there's some field trainers that are field leaders, which I happen to be one of those. But Scott Schilling heads up the training department. And he was actually a protege of Zig Ziglar's. And if you've ever been to one of those Get Motivated seminars, like the ones that toured in the past with Zig Ziglar and Sarah Palin and Colin Powell and some of those folks, Scott was on those tours. In fact, he has his own website, scottschilling.com. But so that was very exciting for me to hear those names attached to the company, along with Logan. So that's sort of what we have our hands on, and I truly believe the timing is perfect. And like I said, my litmus test really came with Michelle and Keith. And I had them come up and I had them really beat Logan up, so to speak, on the products. And they actually gave him some feedback. In fact, some of the way the products ended up being brought to market at launch, they made some tweaks in them because of some of the input of Michelle and Keith. So I want to bring Michelle up and let her kind of tell you about the product, the core product, which is ID Nutrition, and some of the ancillary products that are sort of branches of that tree. Okay, so please help me welcome Michelle Norris.
So happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for coming out. I am very, very excited about ID Nutrition and so excited to be involved in this company. My husband and I have been in health and wellness for 15 years together, and he's been in fitness for over 32 years. He was Mr. Virginia and runner-up to Mr. America, so he's had a stake in the game for quite some time. We've been offered opportunities many, many times to endorse supplements and vitamins. We've never done it because nothing ever was up to par. So until Jennifer brought us in to meet Logan, and when we saw ID Nutrition, we were completely blown away. So what we have our hands on here is pretty incredible. the future of health and wellness is definitely here. And so I'm excited for all of you to finally see this and actually get your hands on it too. So our main core product is personalized nutrition. And what you will be doing with all of your people is taking them through an assessment that is personalized to the person that, I'm sorry, I'm just like get super excited about this and I can't even hear you talk. I start thinking faster than I can even speak.
You had an energy chew instead of an appetite chew, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's right. Anyway, okay, you're going to be taken through an assessment that you will go through and you will answer questions that will pertain to your allergies, what season it is, where you live, and what will describe your type of like sun exposure, if you live in the north, if you live in the south, and that type of thing. What would that make a difference to, whether you live in the north or the south?
Vitamin D.
Absolutely.
Why? Sun exposure.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's hotter than Georgia
Right.
asphalt.
Yes, you definitely need
saw the
that.
sun for the first time
I know,
today.
right? I gotta tell you, this is crazy up here. All year. This has been
Welcome to
totally
the
crazy for us.
Northeast.
The cold up here. Oh, I don't know. Y'all got to come to Texas. Y'all are all coming to ID Revolution, right?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Good. Okay. Then the next thing it's going to do is go through your dietary patterns. How you eat, how much fruit and vegetables you get, what type of diet you're on, if you're not on a diet. If you get any type of fruits and vegetables, it'll ask you if you have fatty fish. It'll ask you if you take in sugar. It'll ask you if you take in any kind of artificial sugars, those type of things. And by the way, this is the old assessment, just for y'all to know that. Probably many of you do, but this just kind of gives you an idea. So then the next thing is going to be your lifestyle. What type of sleep do you get? If you drink any alcohol, if you smoke, if you get secondhand smoke, are you stressed? Do you have a lot of stress? These things make a big difference in what's going to come into your pack. We have one product that's Stress Shield, that's a proprietary blend that's amazing. So those are different things that you'll go through. Your physical well-being. It'll ask you if you have digestive problems. It'll ask you, because we have probiotics. Our probiotics are pretty amazing. How many people were on the call this last weekend that heard Paul Sullivan? Awesome. Talked about our probiotic. Pretty amazing, isn't it? Our probiotic is so bioavailable that it actually doesn't break down completely in our stomach. It breaks down in our intestine. I didn't even know that. That was pretty incredible to me. I hadn't even heard of anything doing that. No probiotic that I know of does that but ours. That's incredible. Then you're going to answer what kind of medical conditions that you have. And let me just say this, if your medical condition is not listed here, and then the next thing is your medications, if it's not listed here, then there are no known contraindications to any of the ingredients in ID Nutrition. Then we're going to get to the end here. And this is one of my favorite parts of the assessment. When you get to this part, because what my husband and I do is we teach people how to live a paleo lifestyle, and we teach them how to put those things into practice and how to do nutrition in their daily life. This thing is so great because it goes through and it tells you what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong and how to change it. And I like the education element of that, and that to me was so key whenever we saw it. We've never seen anything like this. Then this is what I like the most. We do have a pointer and yellow. I can use it, right?
I don't know, can you
Just
use
don't
it?
turn off the projector like I did.
There it is. So these little buttons here, this person is not doing so well in their sun exposure. So obviously they're going to get a lot of vitamin D, and they're going to tell them to go outside. But then they're doing okay here as far as, can't read that, I need glasses. Anyway, So you kind of get the point here. They're doing better in these areas and not so well in this area. And that's something that I really, really like about this assessment is the education piece of it. And if you like to read or you're a green personality, have a little bit of green bar like I do, you're going to read some of this stuff. And Jennifer's that way too. She does a lot of following on due diligence, we call her. Anyway, then here, on this is going to actually get to your recommendation. And on the recommendation, and am I standing in your way? I'm sorry, I just realized that. It's going to get to your recommendation. And this is going to tell you, this is your actual base nutrition, and this is the advanced customized nutrition. This is going to optimize what we're giving you here. These are the add-ons here. So, and over here, it will tell you, if you click on this button, it will tell you why. Why are we giving that to you? This is, to me, the most amazing thing ever. This will tell you, it'll come up in a pop-up, and it will tell you, why are we giving you this? It'll explain exactly what it is. It'll tell you all of the reasons why, and then it'll actually note the study that it is. The whole assessment has 7,000 studies to back it that are PubMed journals and peer-reviewed studies. Then it goes through 4,000 algorithms to come out with a possible 1.2 combinations. That means that's you have 1.2 million.
1.2 ain't too many, yeah.
Just a couple. 1.2 million combinations. That means that it's completely different for each person. So you have something different from me, I have something different from you, you have something different from me. Because Jennifer puts it probably the best. It's a completely different fingerprint. All of us have a different fingerprint. So we shouldn't have the same supplements. And this is the thing. When you walk into like a GNC or into Walmart, whatever it is, and you pick up a bottle off of the shelf, when I pick it up and you pick it up and you pick it up, Kenny, does the bottle change suddenly and tell us all to take a different dose of vitamin C or vitamin D or whatever it is? No, it doesn't. It doesn't tell us to take a different dose. But should we all be taking a different dose? We should. And this is what's amazing. This is going to tell us dose specific. It's going to be, maybe you should not be taking vitamin C. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be taking vitamin C. But this is what's great about it. It's going to tell us and it's going to know. That's what I love about this thing. So these are all of our products. So the ID Nutrition has quite a few products within it. Besides just the actual base minerals and vitamins, we have proprietary blends in it like the Stress Shield and the joint and bone health. Then the sleep product. The sleep product, this is amazing. How many people have taken this? Incredible, isn't it?
It works.
Okay, yes, it does work. And it's funny, Jennifer and I both are believers. Now, I am actually a sporadic insomniac, and I have never been able to take melatonin, like the actual, pills, because I always felt like I was hit by a truck the next day. Just could not do it. Well, this is totally different. Okay. It has melatonin in it that helps you get to sleep. Then it has 5-HTP that comes in and it helps you stay asleep and it kind of keeps you level. Then it has L-theanine that actually puts you into the deep REM sleep so that when you wake up refreshed. That's amazing. Okay, so now I have taken it and now I no longer have to take Ambien, which I am so happy about. Wow. Then we have our energy control chew. Our energy chews, and then we have the appetite control chews, and they're somewhat similar, but they taste like Tootsie Rolls. The energy is amazing. The sleep and the energy chews are done in a triphasic approach, so it's got the 3 different phases. The energy is the same thing. So when you take the energy, it has it's got citrus and orontium in it, and what it does is the first uptake on the energy is going to be your here we go, your what? No, I'm just trying to think of which one's comes first right now. Suddenly, it just hit me.
Well, I can tell you real quick, because let me tell you, I'm a big
No,
appetite
20 comes
control
in.
fan and a big energy chew fan both, because you hand me anything that tastes like Tootsie
They're
Rolls,
awesome.
I'm all about
Yeah.
it. Right. But I'll be honest with you, I didn't have the energy chews right out of the gate. Logan actually gave me some of the appetite control chews to try. And they're awesome because they contain Avantra Z, which is a thermogenic fat burner. I kind of lovingly call it mommy crack because it makes everyday activities like doing laundry a fat burning activity, which I like. It also has something in it called P-synephrine. And what's kind of interesting, really both these products have P-synephrine in it, except I think you were the one that educated me on energy chews have theobromine
Yes,
as well
this has
in it.
theobromine. So what it does is the theobromine is the same thing that's in chocolate. So it gives you that, it's that mood, like, you know, women, it makes, particularly, we love chocolate, so it makes us feel better. And whenever you have this, that's the stuff that comes down. That's the third phase in it. That's what irritated me, is I'm like, which one brings you first?
And what's kind of cool, real quick, not to interrupt her, but in the synephrine, for example, we've got a ton, and some of you know this who follow us on Facebook, but we've got a ton of like pro athletes and sports celebrities on our teams already. And for example, we just sponsored DJ Williams. He's a tight end for the New England Patriots, and he was saying that synephrine is on the banned list for the NFL, for example, because synephrine, does that sound like any other thing you know of that got banned?
Yeah, that's the antihistamine drug.
Synephrine, right? Ephedra. Okay, it's a derivative of ephedra, which got pulled, okay? But here's what's interesting. We asked about it, and it turns out that it's actually M-synephrine that the pro ball players can't take. P-synephrine is kind of like M-synephrine light. And that's what we have in these, is P-synephrine. So actually all of our professional athletes, like I have Tim Brown on my team, Heisman Trophy winner, DJ Williams with the Patriots, even Del Harris. We just did a meeting the other night. Some of you saw that on Facebook. Del and Ann Harris, who got NBA Coach of the Year, and actually was the head coach for the Houston Rockets when they won the championship. He was saying that's what he likes about it, is athletes can take it. So it's really, really cool. And for those of you, and I don't know if you've noticed this if you're already in IDLife, but they've got the energy chews and appetite chews packaged exactly the same, right? Well, did y'all see that they put out now, they're going to have red wrappers for the energy chews, and it's going to say energy. And then the appetite control chews, it's going to say appetite on it, and it's going to be wrapped in blue so that you can tell the difference. But I only had the appetite control chews at first, didn't have the energy chews. Just note that the appetite control, because of that synephrine, will give you that energy boost, because that's what helps with the fat burning and the metabolism boosting. And I'm just warning you, because I had to leave San Antonio one night and drive home because I had to do something with my kids the next day. I couldn't spend the night. I drove 3.5 hours home, talked on the phone the whole way because I took 2 of these. I got home, and because I have 3 kids and my 4th child, my husband, my sink was full of dishes, because no one can do the dishes apparently in my house but me. So I'm unloading the dishwasher, reloading it, notice my floors were dirty, mopping the floors, reorganizing the sock drawer, taking a shower. I mean, my husband's like, tick-tock, it's 3 a.m., okay? So just FYI, if you're going to take it to appetite control for dinner, you might only want to take 1. I'm just warning you, because you might be up all night, okay?
This is true.
So I'm going to sit down now, because the meal replacement, that's her baby, so.
Yeah. Okay, now this is amazing. And I will tell you, this doesn't even have all of the stuff that this has in it on the website. We are actually working on some pieces for training and everything with corporate on it. Okay, so it has 23 grams of protein in it. It's got tons of omega-3s. The protein is cross-flow, cold processed. So that means that in the process that we have removed the lactose and we have also removed the casein. Okay. This is important because most whey proteins do not have lactose removed from it. And a lot of people, if they're going to have any kind of irritation, it's going to come mostly from the lactose. So that's really key, that's really important, because most whey proteins still have that. So that's one thing that sets us apart from most whey proteins. The other thing is the chia seed. It is high in omega-3 fatty acids, which is something that we all need. Our omega-3 to 6 ratio is usually really, really skewed wrong. It should be a 1-to-1 ratio. And our 6 is usually really, really high, and it should be, like I said, 1-to-1. And so whenever you're getting this, this is something that really should help us balance out. So this is a true meal replacement because it has all of our macros. It has fat, carbs, and protein in it. And then the other part of this is the chia seed is hydrophilic, which means that it absorbs moisture. That means that it swells. That's also why they tell you when you mix it, let it sit for a minute or 2 to activate the chia seed. It's micromilled chia seed. And whenever you're taking it, it gives you that full feeling. It's got fiber in it. It also is a resistant starch, which helps with sugar balance. So this is actually really good for people that have diabetes. Awesome, right? I see your face. This is an incredible product for people that have diabetes.
Well, I turned into a chia pet?
It's the same chia.
About that. Anyway, maybe anyway. We don't want to digress here, but this is an incredible, incredible product. I mean, you could make a lot of money just off of this thing right here. So I can't even begin to tell you what all we can do with this one. And we're going to get all of the pieces out for training on this product because we need to, because there's just so much stuff on this. And I could go on for a long time, but I don't want to keep your time on this. But I think that those are enough key points on the weight meal replacements. We also will have a sports line, and we are working on an energy drink, and that should be out in 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. So, and I will be here afterwards to answer any other questions on nutrition and everything. And I'm going to, y'all kind of already heard a little bit about Jennifer's story. Jennifer and I have known each other since high school, and she's one of my best friends, and she is the only national presidential director in the company, and that
For now.
There you go.
That's right.
For now.
That's right. We're going to catch up with her, but that also makes her the top income earner in the company. So please welcome her back.
Thank you. You that are on Facebook with Michelle, you know she is like. I literally keep telling Logan they need to start paying her a salary or something because she's like semi-associate support. If you've been on our team page, Team LTD, if you're on our team, you know she'll answer every single question people put out there, and if she doesn't know the answer, she'll get it for you. So she's very educated on the products and really on the company as a whole. So y'all get with her with your questions afterwards for sure. Okay, so we're going to ramp up into the comp plan. The nutritional products, she did a great job covering all of those. I guess the point that I really want to drive home is that the thing about the assessment, and I don't know if I told you this story in the intro or not, but what I feel is really unique about the assessment is when Logan first told me it was an assessment, I'll be real honest with you, I said, oh, I get it, it's a quiz. Yeah, I'm familiar with these, right? Especially as women. We go into the department stores and you walk up to the Clinique counter and there's a little slide bars. Are you fair, medium, dark? Are you sensitive skin? Right? They're asking you these little quizzes. Why? Because they want to put you into box A, B, or C. So I thought, okay, of course you have a little quiz to drive all the people to your little products. That's what I told Logan. And he said, no, 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 no. The assessment came first, and it's a standalone. The man that developed the assessment, his name's Paul Sullivan. He was a registered pharmacist and a chemist, still is actually. And he actually won Entrepreneur of the Year back in 1988 for a cosmetic line that you guys probably all use at Halloween. You know the little prepackaged where you can look like a lion or look like a clown for makeup? That was his formulation that he still owns the patent on and won Entrepreneur of the Year for. Okay? Now fast forward, after 1988, he actually became the chief formulator of about 400 different products, which he has rights, royalties, and some patents on, in commonly used products that we use to this day. Okay? And he actually owns, a friend of mine who's a drug rep told me that he actually has the patent on the pill dispensing systems commonly used in the hospital pharmacies. Very, very smart man. And what happened was about 18 years ago, his daughter came down with a rare form of leukemia. She was about 7 years old at the time. Her name's Stephanie. And she actually is still alive today. And no, I'm not about to tell you that ID Nutrition cures cancer. That's not where this is headed. But what it did is it launched him on a journey, and here's why. She was put into a control group for an experimental research trial of about 49 kids. And they were given chemotherapy with a supplement. And that supplement in her control group was supposed to be given in the morning. And at the end of the time frame that they were doing this treatment therapy, 48 of the 49 kids died. Stephanie's the only one that lived through the therapy. And actually, Paul Sullivan didn't really know why. And fast forward about 2-3 years later, he's sitting in his office, said he was flipping through a medical journal, and he actually read the clinical trial that his daughter had been involved in. Whenever they run clinical trials, they'll try different things with different groups. And what they had discovered is that kids that were given the supplement in the evening versus in the morning had a 300% greater chance of survival, just off the time of day that that supplement was given. So he yelled to his wife and said, hey, you know, what time of day were you giving Stephanie your supplements? And she actually said, well, I actually went against the protocol because Stephanie was having her treatments in the morning and was vomiting afterwards, and she was so sick she couldn't keep the supplement down. So we started giving it to her in the evening just so she could stomach it. And that actually ended up saving her life. But that launched Paul Sullivan on a quest to start digging into what he calls the chronobiology of supplementation based on the time of day that you take something. Okay? So that is huge, huge, huge. And he developed this assessment based on that. And actually the ID Nutrition was developed to fill whatever 1.2 to 1.5 million possible combinations can come out of that assessment. Are y'all with me?
How many?
Okay.
What?
There's anywhere between 1.2 and 1.5 million possible combinations, okay, outcomes that can come out of that assessment. So that's what makes us so unique and so cool. Now, with the direct sales piece of it, the reason Logan decided he was going to market this through the direct sales space is just because he knew from his success in direct sales that word of mouth works in a big, big way. Okay, and really if we're going to do something revolutionary like this is about really educating people on the difference between customized nutrition and the whole one-size-fits-all multivitamin approach. Because if you're taking a multivitamin and you're thinking you're good with that, you should go back about 4 months ago. There was actually a study that ended up on the cover of USA Today that said multivitamins do not work. Period, end of story. Like, we were shocked. We were not shocked. Okay, that's something Paul Sullivan's been saying all along. Multi-anything does not work. One-size-fits-all anything does not work. Okay? So they chose the direct sales space to launch this company. Why? A lot of you in here have been in direct sales, but if you're not a believer in direct sales, hopefully I can educate you with this one small fact. And that is that 97% of the population works for money and works for people. You work, you get paid. You work, you get paid. You work, you get paid. If you don't work, you don't get paid. Okay? Your income is 100% dependent on you. You have zero leverage in your life. There's a book that I read shortly after I got involved in direct sales that's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And I always say that second to the Bible, basically, that book has changed my life. Okay, and here's why. He talks about something in there called the cash flow quadrant. And he does a little plus sign, just shoot. And on this side, he puts an E and he puts an S. And on this side, he puts a B and an I. He calls this the poor side, he calls this the rich side. The poor side is 97% of this room probably, 97% of the population. And those are employees or self-employed people. Okay? Because if you have a small business, trust me, and investors. Now, according to Forbes magazine, a big business is 500 employees or more. Okay? That's good. That's walk-away income. So instead of working for money and working for people, you now have money and people working for you. They say out there, as far as the experts, if you read things by Robert Kiyosaki, or actually he and Trump teamed up and wrote a book back in '06 called Why We Want You to Be Rich. And they give all these different ways to build wealth. And chapter 27 actually says why we recommend network marketing. And it says because it's a great way for the average person without a whole lot of capital to be able to get themselves on the other side of the equation, where instead of working for money and working for people, you have money and people working for you. So if you're going to work full-time on your paycheck, that's fine. This isn't an either-or situation. Poor people think either-or. Rich people think both. You can work full-time on your paycheck while you work part-time on your fortune. Because over here with this business, when you launch into it and you get involved and pay either $99 or $3.99, you're not paying that to get a second or third job. You're paying that basically to start a franchise. It is a business. You own it. It is willable, sellable, transferable income. It is yours. Whatever you build up here, you work it a certain amount of time, and if you want to stop and walk away, it's going to continue to pay you. That is what residual income is. Is anybody in here getting paid on something they did 5 years ago? And don't use another network marketing company. But is anybody in here getting paid on something they did 5 years ago outside of network marketing? No.
I dug that ditch and backfilled it. It's over.
And there you go. Yeah. And you know, residual income, let me tell you, I was a drug rep, so I got paid every time a doctor wrote a script. But through this, the way residual income works, I could have had residual income in pharma if they had paid me, you know, just a small percentage of every pill that patient popped in their mouth for a lifetime. I could have retired 10 years early. Okay? So you own it here. Now for $99, you can come in as what we call a member. That's really a base level entry. Okay? And the reason Logan put that on the comp plan is because he remembers what it was like to be a 20-something-year-old kid with no money. And he said his first product-based company, he had to pay well over $1,000 to get involved with. And that was a lot for him. He was borrowing money to do it. So he wanted a simple way for people that didn't have the cash flow to get involved. At the member level, that you get that new member kit for 99 bucks, and it'll give you a 10% discount on products for life. But the vast majority of people who can do it will come in as an associate, is what I've tended to find. Okay, we built a team of about 1,700 people in pre-launch, and the vast majority, I'd say about 90% of them came in as associates. Okay, and that's where they paid $99 for the new member kit, but then they got $300 wholesale worth of product. It's actually $500 retail, and it's the only time in the company where they will ship you product at a 40% discount. Okay, and it's going to basically come with 28 packs of the vanilla shake, 28 packs of the chocolate shake. It's going to come with 3 packs of the energy chews, 3 packs of the appetite control chews, and 3 packs of the sleep strips. Okay, now you can do several things with that. You can either use them yourself, just for personal consumption. You can sample them out like we did here tonight, or you can retail them. You can sell them for retail and make 40% on your money. Okay, but it puts you into the system at a 30% discount on products for life going forward, which is huge. Now, I don't care if you paid $99 or $3.99, everybody's first question is, how quick can I make that back? And that's why the first way of the 10 ways that we get paid is called fast start income. Now there's 2 different ways that you can do it. You can focus on just retail, because let me tell you, Logan is well aware that some people may get involved in this business and not want to go out and build a team. They might just want a retail product. Maybe they own a gym. Maybe they're a doctor's clinic. And all they want to do is put product on the shelf and retail it. And you can do that, okay? And those folks are going to be customers. If they come onto your site and they take ID Nutrition or they order any other products, they're just a customer, okay? So when you get started in the company, there's you, all right? And I know it's you because it doesn't say me, so it's you. All right, you're going to pay $3.99 in most cases. You're going to get involved, and then you're going to set up your website. Your website is a replicated website. Don't let that scare you. You don't have to set it up. It's already done for you. But it tracks everything for you in real time, and it is optional. You don't have to have it, right? You can turn it on and off at will if you do decide to have it. It's not like you're contracted to it. But it's your only overhead, and it's $19.95 a month for that replicated website, all right? Now, what you're going to do once you set that website up, which really all you do there is just name your own little IDLife store, is you're going to go into your own back office, your ID office, and you're going to take the health assessment and order your ID Nutrition. That first order of ID Nutrition, if you come in at the $3.99 level, is free, no matter what the amount is. I know this slide, it's kind of an old slide, it says up to $100, but that's not true. I don't care if it's $60 or $250, it's free. That's part of your $3.99 pack, okay? So you get that for free. Then you just need to get one more customer, and that can be a spouse, it can be a child that lives in your house, it can be your next door neighbor, it doesn't really matter. All right, but you get that one other customer, and basically you've triggered your first check, $100. Then you go out and you get 2 more customers. And when you do that, you have 3 customers other than yourself, then basically your product is free. Your ID Nutrition is free from there on out. Not just the first order, but all orders. Okay, so you're getting that product for free. We call it 3 and free. Then, this is the only part that they kind of put a time frame on, and it's right here. You go out in the next 60 days after you join the business, they give you 2 months to do it, and gather a total of 9 customers, right? Yourself makes 10, but you've got 1 other, you're 2 for the 3 and free, and you go get 6 more, okay? So total of 9 other than yourself. They're going to pay you $200 if you knock it out in your first 60 days. And actually, Logan just announced a promotion where if you join now, they're going to double that. So in other words, if you get started now before the end of the month, they'll basically double that. $400 is what you'll make, okay, if you knock that out. Okay, now, of course, this $270 down here kicks in as well, because remember, when those customers, and they're just going by the average order being about $100, okay, maybe more, maybe less. But if we can all use it for simple math, $100, just for the sake of the example of the comp plan, makes everything a lot easier. But if you basically get 9 customers, each ordering $100 worth of product, and you're making 30% commission on that, you do that times 9, that's $270 additional.
Month after month after month.
Yeah, well, no, not on this one. This one is, you know, first time. But yes, as they continue to order, especially if they do auto ship. And by the way, if they do auto ship, then they've added it to the new business presentation, but I have the old one, so I want to let you know this. If somebody selects auto ship, because we don't force people to auto ship here, which I like. So if somebody wants to just try it, and they like it, and then they want to get on auto ship, they can. But when they do, they get a 10% discount, and that actually will come out of that 30% commission, and your commission will go down to 20%. Okay? But that's fine with me, because I know if they auto ship, especially with that 93% retention rate that they showed when they tried the product out on those 1,000 customers, I'm good with that, because that's long-term residual income at 20%. I'm all for that. All right? But you can see right here what that is if all you did was customers. Now, if you wanted to, you could just do business builders. All right? You can. The whole first part stays the same, right? Where you get on ID Nutrition, get one other customer, $100, go find 2 more customers, your product's free, and then you go out and you just find 3 business builders. Okay? They come in at $399. Well, because they're coming in at $399, remember they're buying $500 retail worth of product, even though they're getting it for $300. The company's going to pay you $100, $100, and $100 for that. Okay, and that's where they're getting that $300. Now, for example, with me, I personally sponsored 15 people. Okay, 12 came in at $399. 3 of them came in at $99. So in the case of the $399 ones, I got $100 times 12. Are y'all with me? Okay? So don't let your minimums be your maximums. You can do more than 3. We're just giving you 3 as an example there. Now you can combine the 2. You can go out and get 3 business builders and get 9 additional customers, and you're making over $1,000. And really with the promotion, it's closer to $1,500. You're way in the profit zone from that $399. Then at this point, all you've got is your overhead of $19.95 a month for that website. All right? Okay. There's 10 different ways that we get paid in this comp plan. Okay? Now, of course, the key focus typically in direct sales is about building that residual income. And that's what we're looking at here. This is the residual income portion of the plan. It's a 10-level compensation plan you see right here. Okay? And just for the sake of example, they're using the example of you getting those 10 customers, that includes yourself, making a 30% commission, which would be $30 on a $100 average order. That's $300 a month in income, correct? Okay? Now, if you wanted to, you don't even have to do the rest of this. You could just focus on getting customers. And remember, this is going to come in, as you shared with us, right, month after month after month, when that customer is reordering those products. But what I like to do is I like to build leverage in my life, okay? You know, it's that whole J. Paul Getty of I'd rather have 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of my own. I'd rather franchise, personally. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to find some business builders. With the example of 3 who get 3 who get 3, with all those customers in place as you're going down, let's just take this first level. You've got your 3 independent associates. They just switch their, you know, switch. Hello. They just get, I haven't said that in a while. They just get 3, they get 10 customers on ID Nutrition, okay? You're now getting paid on 40 customers, but how many did you get? 10, okay? You're going to get 5% override on that. You're up to $450 a month in residual income. You take it down one more level, that's only 12 associates, okay? And that income at that point, you're looking at about $900 a month, which is a car payment, a tuition payment. I mean, that goes a long way for people, big time. And in fact, did you know, there's just a little side note, because you know I am due diligence queen, but the Direct Selling Association actually says that if somebody's making $250 or more in any network marketing opportunity, they're highly unlikely to ever quit. Because it's a free $250, right? Because they work, they got it to that, and they know it's going to come month after month, whether they, you know, if you saw $250 in the parking lot, oh yeah, you'd be chasing it to pick that up if the wind's blowing, right? You want that money. So just FYI, but $900, that's a lot. You take it all the way down 10 levels, you're looking at, and I don't know if it's going to show because it looks like the screen might have cut off, but it's 1 point, let me try it again. Yeah, you can see it on the back wall. It's $1.2 million roughly a month. Okay? Now, do you think it's going to work perfect like this? No. Most of you know. Okay? But as you know, some of you know me, I always look at things like this as a skeptic. Cut it in half. What if 50% of it doesn't work? That's 600 grand a month. Can y'all live off that?
Nope.
That's my man. What if you're a 90% failure? Okay, only 10% works. That's a lot still, right? I'm not going to do the math on that. I don't even know what that is.
120 grand.
Yeah, thank you. 120 grand a month. All right? But here's the cool part, and I'll be real honest with you because a lot of you know me from my previous company. Here's where my ears perked up in a big way. One of the things that they added, and again, you're probably not going to be able to see it as it flew by, but it's called dynamic compression. And I've actually, really in my mind, we're visual people. I think a lot of us think in stories and pictures versus in actual words. And so I guess because I have kids, I'm starting to think of this as what I call the claw compensation plan, okay, for dynamic compression. Did y'all see Toy Story?
Yes.
Where you had the little things in the machine and they were like, oh, the claw, right? And the claw came in. Okay, what dynamic compression is, because when I first heard about it, they said, okay, it's a roll-up, okay? Dynamic compression is a roll-up. That's right, girl, we got it. Okay, dynamic compression is like a roll-up. But where people were starting to get confused is they were saying, oh, okay, so you're telling me if somebody below me is inactive, it's going to compress them out and roll the whole next level up? No. What it's going to do is, let's say out of the 12 front line that you have, okay, let's say you've got one guy, no offense, Kenny, but you're a dud, okay? The claw's going to come in and grab Kenny for that 30-day pay period, pluck him out, and roll the next level, which is Rockstar Kim Jackman, up to level 1. Okay? So it just fills in the hole, but it pulls it out and kind of plops it off to the side. It doesn't mean that that person is forever removed from your business. It just means if they're not qualified that month, then they will roll up and fill those gaps. Okay? Which in a way, if you think about it, it's like ID Nutrition. We're filling nutritional gaps. We're also going to fill monetary gaps. So it's a full 10 levels of active income, which is huge. All right? And in a way, it makes it unlimited because even you could potentially get paid on people far below your 10th level, okay, just through dynamic compression. So that's a big, big deal. All right, so let's talk about some of the other ways we get paid. And we've got to start with rank because to tap into some of these other ways we get paid, it's going to depend on where you rank in the company, okay? Now, what I always tell people now when they first get involved is the first thing they want to hit is regional director. It ain't hard to do. It's only $1,200 in what they call TQV. That's just a fancy word for you have at least $1,200 in retail sales going on below you. It can be your customers, from your team. Okay? TQV, $1,200. That's roughly 120. That's roughly 12 customers, each ordering about $100 worth of ID Nutrition, as an example. Okay? For you to be qualified as a regional director, you only need $200 in personal volume and retail sales. Now, this was huge for me because not being from a product-based company, I had a lot of negatives about a product-based company all ready to go when I sat down with Logan. And some of them, believe it or not, some of my pushback that I was giving him actually came from him years ago. Because he had told me in his former company, Logan himself, was paying $2,000 every 2 weeks to stay qualified in that company. Okay? Which he lovingly now says he had the strongest rats in his neighborhood because they were all breaking into his garage and eating the $2,000 worth of product he was buying every 2 weeks because he wasn't selling it, he was just buying it himself to stay qualified. He didn't want that to have to happen here, okay? And I've heard some rumors out there about IDLife, like, oh, you got to pay $500 every month. Well, let me just tell you, if you go all the way to the top of the company, Global Presidential Director, GPD, Global Pimp Daddy, right here, okay? Your qualifier is $500. You're on ID Nutrition. You've got 4 other customers on ID Nutrition. How much are you paying for your product?
Nothing.
Nothing. But it's still going towards your personal volume and retail sales. You with me? At this point, you're not even paying anything to be qualified at that level. Does that make sense? Okay? So guys, we do not have quotas here. We do have qualifiers. All right? That's all it is. To go to the highest level of the company. Now, the reason you want to hit regional director is because that puts you in one of my favorite parts of the comp plan. And the folks on my team know how much I love this part of the comp plan. Okay? We already talked about Business Builder, which is that $100 you get when you put somebody in the business at $3.99, you get paid that $100 off that product back. But I want y'all to understand matching residual. This is huge. It's a game changer. It was for me. The way this works, if you're at least at regional director, okay, and let's say you sponsor Michelle and you sponsor Kenny and you sponsor Patty, okay, this is your front line right here, all right, and let's just say that Kenny goes all the way to regional director as well. You're going to get, You're not a dud. Not right. I'm not going to let you be a dud. I'll make you a dud in a minute. Okay? You're going to get paid 20% match on his check. Everybody kind of knows that, right? Matching residual. He's a regional director, so am I. But check this out. Patty's better than Kenny. She's a real stud. And she goes all the way in the rank advancements to international presidential director. She passes you up. She's making, I don't know, $100,000 a month, let's say. You're getting 20% of her check every single month, even though you're still just a regional director. Are you with me on that? Okay? Now, as you advance through the ranks, though, regional, managing, senior to executive, once you hit this and you go above that, this is the way it works. Like for me as an example, okay? And I want you to picture you're me. Okay, you're a national presidential director. You have 15 folks front line to you. Okay? This is the way it works. It'll go to Patty. It'll pay me 20% of Patty's check if she's a regional director or above. Then it'll sweep below Patty onto her team and find the next person that's regional director or above and pay me 10% of their check. Then it'll sweep again. It might be down on my 40th level. They find a global presidential director and pay me 10% of their check. And then it'll sweep again and find another person that's regional director or above. It could be on my 120th level, and they pay me 10% of that check. Then it goes over and it does it again on Kenny. 20, 10, 10, 10. Michelle, 20, 10, 10, 10. Are y'all with me?
Keep going.
That is a whole lot of money. And quite honestly, the girl that sponsored me in my former company worked at 8 weeks and quit. Everybody heard that story in that company. Okay? And because of me, she made about $30,000 a year off of me.
Welcome.
Okay? Had a free place to stay every time I went to Dallas. Okay? But here's the deal. I was below her, and I made 3 times what she made, had advanced in rank above her, which I used to love as an example of why direct sales, a good direct sales company, is not a pyramid. Because I was below her and made way more money than her and was a higher rank than her. Okay? Now, where her ears perked up about IDLife, when she called Logan to get information, is Logan used me as an example with her. And said, Denise, how cool would it be to have sponsored Jennifer Moran and made $30,000 a year off of her, but then on top of that, gotten 20% of her check every single month. She was like, I'm in. She didn't even know what the product was, okay? So most compensation plans are built either where somebody reaches your level, and once they do, you're going to get paid on the rock stars on your team. Now, God bless you. I also want you to know, let's just say, again, we'll use Kenny, he's a dud.
I got passed twice.
I know. But let's just say that he is, okay? Because of dynamic compression, the claw pulls him out and pulls Global Presidential Director Kim Jackman up to your front line and treats it like you sponsored her. You'll get 20% of her check every month. Y'all with me on that? Okay?
Dinner's on me, obviously.
Yeah. All right? So that's huge. And honestly, because I'm not a numbers person, I had Ty Toth trying to explain to me last night that apparently the volume match, which I've always thought just because it's less numbers, it's like 5, 4, 3, 3 versus 20, 10, 10, 10. He actually said the volume match is far bigger money than even the matching residual, which I didn't really understand because I'm not a numbers person, and he started to try to explain it to me, and it was like a train leaves Denver going for, I was like, forget it. So, but volume match is huge too. Then the reason we're all about being a one big family at IDLife too, and about rising tide raises all ships, is because of the global bonus pool. This is why I've been running around New Jersey and Maryland and Pennsylvania with Ty Toth and Jim Dowd. because we basically are on 2 different teams, but we want to build together because we have a global bonus pool where the company takes 2% of their profits every month and splits them up among everybody national director and above. And it's not just a one like, you're a national director, so we'll pay you this, and you're a global presidential director, we'll pay you this. No, actually, if you're a global presidential director, you'll get a share of the national director, a share of the rank above that, and the rank above that, and you get to pick up, as Michelle says, a suitcase of money at each stop, all the way up. Does that make sense? Okay, rank advancement bonus. That's where the company basically presents you a check for each rank advancement starting at executive director. And it goes all the way up to a check for 40 grand as a global presidential director. And it's not like I've actually heard of some product-based companies out there that do this, okay, and there's some ones that you would know. They'll hand a check to somebody and they'll post it on Facebook, hey, I got this huge check, but it's being prorated out over the course of 6 months. They didn't get that all at once. They're getting it fed out to them over the course of 6 months, not here. They're going to hand you a check, and if it's 40 grand, it's your 40 grand. You can go cash it right then. Not the big cardboard check, but the real check, okay? Car bonus. They will give you a car bonus, okay? That starts at national director, unless you were a founding member. Founding members that started at executive director. But national director and above, it starts at $500, goes all the way to $2,000. And because we're IDLife, individually designed life, you get to pick the car. Okay, it's not going to be just a black Mercedes or just a pink Cadillac or a white Mercedes or a BMW. You can go get the car that you want within the parameters they lay down. You can pick the color, they give you a couple of different brands to choose from, things like that. You cannot go out and just go pay off your 1978 green Hornet that you bought in high school, okay? That's not going to work because they don't want you riding around with a plate saying top income earner, you know, and it's like you're jalopying it down the road. Okay. Okay, incentive trips. They do 4 incentive trips a year. And actually, we found out through Stuart Johnson, who is the owner of Success Magazine and owns Direct Selling News, that we are actually the first company in the history of direct sales that he knows of that at launch announced an incentive trip. Most companies wait till they're, pretty far in the profit zone before they start handing out free trips. We announced one at launch, and it's still, believe it or not, guys, I know you may think, hey, there's people that were here in pre-launch and what have you, but it is wide open. I've been talking to Logan about it, and I mean, it's 50 top income earners, and everybody's like, oh, that's going to be everybody that joined in pre-launch. Not true. We're already starting to see people hitting the road running. Okay, so it's anybody's game, but it's to the Mayan Riviera. It's at Secrets Maroma Beach, which actually is Logan Stout's favorite resort. I've been there because he actually referred that resort to my former company, and they took us all there on that on an award trip, the very first one I ever got to go on. It is stunning. 5-star resort, okay? You will love it. They're also going to announce 3 more trips at some point this year, and it's not always going to be just on income. It may be on you just got started, and so, it might be on personal volume, or total qualified volume, or retail sales, or building a team, or whatever, over the course of a certain amount of time, and they'll reward you with a trip. So there's going to be 4 trips a year, and it's not just going to be just for top income earners, all right? So that's how that looks. Action items, if you're a guest here, just make sure that you go to your sponsor's website, whoever sent you here or brought you here tonight. If you don't have anybody, just enroll under Susan. Back there, since she set it up, I'm teasing. Well, I'm sort of not. But anyway, yeah. So just enroll on your sponsor's website. Make sure you start plugging into events. Logan Stout will be, I don't want to say here, because he is going to be up in Clark, New Jersey. Jim Dowd and Ty Toth's meeting up there a week from yesterday, which is Wednesday. Okay, but it's worth the drive, guys. If you haven't seen Logan in person talking about the business and how this all came about, it's worth it. Throw some people in the car, head up there. I know it's a hike for you guys, but it's worth it. And also remember, too, that there's a boot camp coming, which is training, and that's going to be on March 22nd in Edison, New Jersey. Okay, so if you can plug into that and get some good training, it's going to be an all-day event. And I do tell people, if you can only come in the morning, that's fine. Only come in the afternoon, that's fine. But it'll be from 9 to 4 in Edison, New Jersey. All the information, I believe, is up on the website on that. And I'll be back up for that as well. Okay? I appreciate you guys coming. I hope you guys see this opportunity. I personally believe that we're given very few chances to get in on the ground floor of something like this. I think a lot of opportunities come people's way that are mature opportunities, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that I think it's very rare that you've got an opportunity like this, backed by the Perot family, with revolutionary products, and you get to be in at the beginning, okay? This is a huge, huge chance we've been handed, and I hope you see it. If you have any questions, just stay after, and I'd be happy to answer them for you. So thanks for having me.